Please watch everything and listen very carefully, and all will now be revealed. This part has all the answers to all the questions that many of you are looking for. I will reveal to you the prophecies of Mary, the mother of Jesus, a hidden prophecy from Jesus, and some from Nostradamus. You must listen attentively this time, very carefully.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy.
In order to change the way of the world, you must change the way the world thinks, and you do that by controlling all the avenues into the mind. When you understand the inner workings of the mind, you do that by controlling all modes of education, rules and regulations, food, water, drinks and atmosphere. I may repeat things throughout, because when you understand learning, repetition is the best way to receive information. It is how we all were taught by our parents. Trust me, this information is what many of you have been looking for. You all receive information all the time, chemically, vibrationally, which are sound waves and pulses, visually, and you learn by what you see, hear and read. How are you to know whether the information you have just received is true or not? You cannot. But many of you believe you know everything, because this is how they have programmed you to think. You must now say, I know nothing, but I want to know. Then say, I will accept only when I can verify. These two statements will open your mind, but protect it until you have verified what you have just heard, seen or read. You will not just accept someone's word because they are a priest, pope, politician or scientist, or even what I am teaching you. You will only accept when you can verify. You all may think that you cannot be manipulated, but every one of you has, no matter what religion or system you follow. You have all been manipulated by your leaders, religious, royal, political or scientific. The saying "I will accept only when I can verify" is a secret society saying, and they control science. And many of you now believe in the Big Bang Theory. They say this happened 15 billion years ago, and many of you accept it. How can you verify anything that happened so long ago? It is impossible, but you believe them. Jesus taught that believing is seeing, and they tricked you it was seeing is believing. That is why he warned, "Do not look up to no man on earth, and call no man your father, only the Father in heaven." He knew how powerful your mind is, and how powerful their mind control was, and still is. That is why many of you still believe there are no cures. This is because you foolishly put your trust in all the wrong people, the ones that brought religion and science to the West, and all secret societies, and they keep tricking you. Jesus was one of them. Secret, concealed from notice, kept or meant to be kept private, hidden not to be revealed or exposed, unseen, occult, mysterious, given to secrecy, secretive, closed, reserved, secluded, private, something to be kept back or concealed, a thing kept from general knowledge, a mystery, something that cannot be explained, the explanation or key to a mystery, secrecy. Pharisee, a member of an ancient Jewish sect who religiously observed the rites and ceremonies prescribed by the written law and were marked by their exclusiveness towards the rest of the people, a self-righteous person, an unctuous hypocrite. Being secretive, secluded and private is how they were marked by their exclusiveness towards the rest of society. An unctuous hypocrite is someone that thinks they are right, even if what they do is utterly wrong and goes against the belief of others. Occult, supernatural, magical, mystical, concealed, kept secret, beyond the range of ordinary knowledge or perception. Science was always known as the dark arts, and their most famous scientist, Einstein, once said he received his knowledge from outer space. My next documentary will explain, but as you can see, this knowledge is beyond the range of ordinary knowledge or perception of others. This means that Einstein is telling a story from the other side, and this is the side that Jesus came into the world to teach you of, the spirit world, the world that guides you in this world. This is the world that the American government use, and as I have shown you, this is the source of their knowledge, the cosmic serpent, one of many forms of the devil from the story of the apple tree in the Bible. Read what it says on the front of the book, DNA in the origin of knowledge. This is why the religion that the Vatican created taught that the apple tree was the font of all knowledge, good and bad. Einstein also said that you send and receive signals to and from your brain, and you do. That is how you know when you are hungry, thirsty, tired, and in pain. These are the signals from within. It is your body signaling to you. This knowledge is known as biochemical knowledge. Therefore, if you change the chemicals, you change the knowledge. So if you change the place where the chemicals come from, or the source, you change the knowledge. So when you flood the mind with elements from the apple that came from the mind of the cosmic serpent, one of many forms of the devil, you'll have thoughts of the devil. That's why when the apple is changed into a liquid, alcohol, the thoughts of the individual will change, the knowledge will change. They'll become argumentative, aggressive, even violent. And the same is for marijuana. It comes from the same source. Ayushka is the mother of all hallucinogenic plants, and tobacco. Tobacco has thoughts to destroy you. This is their simplest way that they do control your mind. It's the oldest way on planet Earth. The apple is their first biochemical weapon. Then it's their hallucinogenic drugs, which is their medicines, their psychiatric drugs, and tobacco. And now they have MSG and LSD, the drug called cannibal that made the individual eat another individual, and aspartame. This is their main source of changing your mind. And externally, they do it via HAARP, because you pick up signals from the world around you. You used to communicate with the elements of nature. This is the world that Einstein said he communicated with, the world around him. So therefore, when you change the elements around a person, you change the elements that they're communicating with. And these are the spirits that Jesus taught you of. So when they change the elements within you, they can change the character or the mind of the individual, the nature, the spirit of the individual, because your elements make up your spirit. That's what Jesus taught you. And when they change the elements around you also, they change the ones that guide you. This is why the minds and the direction of our world is rapidly changing. It is why Jesus said, Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, "For what person knows a man's thoughts, except the spirit of the man which is in him?" When you change the elements within the man, you change the spirit that's within the man. That is why the direction of our world is going deeper and deeper into hell. People are being guided by the wrong elements. That is why our ancients used to call their spirit world the elementals. When you think of something, your spirit guide will get you what you think of most of the time. This is your most powerful thought. It is why Jesus taught, "Therefore I say unto you, whatever things you desire, when you pray, believe that you will receive them and you shall have them." Your desire are your most powerful thoughts, or the ones that you think of most of the time. The more you think of something, the more power you give to that thought. I make no secret of the fact that the Spirit of Jesus is my guide, and my next documentary will explain about guidance. I have been guided to research everything, but everything I have been guided to read was for me to tell you a story that Jesus wants the world to know. This is because all my life I have desired to know the truth. I wanted to know why we are the way we are, because I wanted to help people to heal them. But during my early years, all modes of education were controlled by one group of people, because science was controlled by these people: Darwin, Einstein and Freud. I knew that what they were teaching was diatribe, but it's difficult to prove something without evidence. But this is what Jesus did before, because of his love for our world, because he was being guided by the highest intelligent life force throughout the universe. Now the world has reverted back to the ideology of science, because the three countries that brought science to the Western world are in ascendance once again: France, Britain and America. Ideology, the political, social philosophy of a nation, movement, group, etc. Science of ideas. Theorist, a visionary. Theorist, supposition explaining something. Generalization, explaining phenomena of assumed natural causes. A speculative idea of something, mere hypothesis. Speculative supposition, to accept as probable, to assume, to lay down without proof. To assume by way of argument or illustration, to imagine, to believe. Visionary, capable of visions or foresight, an appreciation of what the future may hold. When Jesus came along, he had opposing opinions to the Pharisees, but they held great power. They controlled the philosophy of the nation, the education of the masses with their science and religion. Jesus was accused of many crimes while he was alive, and when he died, science seized the upper hand again, because they said there was no proof of what Jesus foretold. They also burnt his knowledge, but some of it has survived. It is known as the Nag Hammadi Gospels. In these Gospels, Jesus teaches Mary Magdalene where his visions come from. When she asked, "How does he who sees the visions see them, through the spirit or the soul?" he said, "Neither, in between the two, the mind." When you understand how chemicals affect the mind, you see why you are warned not to eat the apple or any fruit. They all make alcohol, and alcohol severely distorts the mind. This is because, as the story teaches, the apple and all fruits came from the mind of the devil. Therefore, he is in control of the elements that make up the apple and all fruits. The main element is sugar, and you recently witnessed the damage that this element is still doing to our body and minds today, all because you believe in science. When you believe in these people, you accept the one they follow, because whoever guides them will then be guiding you, because you are following them. You agree with their principles. Everyone has guides. It is what Jesus came to teach you. He came to guide you, not to teach you a ritualistic, dogmatic religion, but a way back into the side of the light. Jesus continually spoke out against them, and we know what they eventually did to him, and Kennedy, and anyone else that had other intentions for our world. This is why he said, "You are of your father the devil, and your will is to your father's desires." He was a murderer from the beginning, and it has nothing to do with the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks according to his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Jesus is clearly telling the Pharisees that their will is to their father desires. Who is their father? Their father is Shem, who had Elam, Ashur, Aphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Abraham was one of the descendants of Aphaxad, and Abraham is the patriarch or founder of the Hebrew. Most of the royal families today are descendants of Shem. All European ones are, especially the British Queen, whose ancestors brought the foods of the devil with them. The apple, the food we were warned not to eat, by God the highest intelligent life force throughout the universe, as the story teaches. And Ham is where all Eastern royalty are descendants from. These are the two sons of Noah, which signifies prominence and mastership, and this is evident in British society today, but more so in earlier years. That is why they believed they had the right to build their empire. Shem is credited with the murder or the killing of Nimrod, son of Cush, and this is why Jesus said that their father was a murderer, because this nation are descendants of Shem. Shem is also the blessed of Yahweh, the overlord of hell, or Satan, in the spiritual world, that you know as Noah in the physical world. He was favoured by his father, who put a curse on his two sons, saying that all the nations of Ham will be forever enslaved by the nations of Shem. Descendants of Shem and Ham have built all empires: the empire of Carthage, the African empire, the Egyptian empire, the Roman empire, the Babylonian empire, the Persian empire, and now the British empire, which is alive and well and being enforced by America. These people have always controlled America and Britain, as this book proves. The names of the first American president and the cause of the Iraq War are right there in front of your own eyes. George Washington was the first American president, and he became president in 1879, and his ideology was theosophy. Theosophy, a form of speculation, mysticism, or philosophy aiming at the knowledge of God by means of intuition and contemplative illumination, or by direct communion. A system founded in the US in 1875, which claims to show the unity of all religions in their esoteric teaching, manifested by occult phenomena. The occult phenomena is the Kabbalah, the demonic worshipping cult of the Hebrew, the esoteric, which means secret science of the rabbi, and secret is occult, mysterious, and Britain and America, that were always guided by science, had top secret departments. Occult, supernatural, magical, mystical, concealed, kept secret, beyond the range of ordinary knowledge or perception. Religion is the belief in a supernatural being or beings, and the Pharisees and Sadducees in the Bible were sorcerers, magicians, conjurers, and they knew how to control and manipulate the elements. Conjure, to affect by or as if by magical influence, to cause to appear and disappear as if by magic, to evoke spirits, supernatural forces. There is an immutable law, which means unchangeable by man. A law of cause and effect. It is one of many universal laws. Others are the law of lift that keeps things in the sky, and the law of gravity that keeps your feet on the ground, and the law of attraction that teaches that like does attract like. A like mind will attract a like mind. One element will attract another element. It should be a little clearer as to why we are now back in the place that Jesus once rescued us from, because we have been tricked by the descendants of the Pharisees and the Sadducees once again. They are the Freemasons in our modern world, the controllers of religion and science once again. America is controlled by their form of Freemasonry, the Brotherhood, and the Brotherhood worship and honour the devil, as all evidence now proves. This brilliant book shows the God that Freemasons honour, the British Queen's husband being a high-ranking member and an honorary member of the Brotherhood. Jah Bull On. Jah is Yahweh, the God of the Hebrews. Bull or Baal, the ancient Canaanite fertility god associated with licentious rites of imitative magic. Licentious, debauched, loose in morals. This is why both sides of the British government held drug-fueled homosexual orgies. Hallucinogenic drugs produce homosexual thoughts and promiscuity, as LSD proves. These traits are now evident in the British and American and now European societies, either by force or by trickery and the rule of law. The force and trickery are words, sayings and slogans, like additives, preservatives and taste enhancers, that have allowed the science world to drug your minds via the foods. MSG is the food-based derivative of LSD. These people seriously believe that life is a game, and that is why all foods are now flooded with all the elements of the apple, sugar, parabens and yeast. On, Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of the underworld. Baal was a false god who competed with Yahweh for the devotion of the Israelites in the Old Testament. Baal has been identified by demonologists as the devil, and Yahweh is the overlord of the underworld. Baal, which is the god they refer to in Freemasons, a cult which runs through the British establishment, signifies the Lord Master Owner, and it is related to a word to take possession of, and this is what all royal families were known as, land grabbers, and so were all their followers or lords. Another deceit they keep from the members of the Brotherhood is they cryptically refer to Goatu instead of God, and they are deliberately misled into thinking Goatu is the one God of all religions who worship one God. They are led to believe that Goatu covers all religions. They also tricked the followers of the Roman Catholic Church, because as you can see right in front of your eyes, a secret is also a prayer in a low tone recited by the celebrant at Mass. Why would you recite it in a low tone? If you want the parishioners to hear what you are saying, you speak clear and loudly. That is why they were told when they were serving the sacraments to turn their back to face the people, because they used to turn their back on the people and speak in Latin. When you want to teach somebody, you teach in a language they understand, and that is what Jesus came to teach you. He didn't speak in parables. He was a highly intelligent individual. He was a wise man. He knew that he had to speak in a language that people could understand him. He didn't speak as if he had knowledge, like the Einsteins, the Darwins and the Freuds. They talk at you, not to you. When you teach somebody, you teach them. You don't show off your knowledge. This is what I am doing to you. I have read all their scientific manuals, journals, all the books on the mind, everything to do with science, religion, and the spirit world, the metaphysical world. And I have explained it to you in a simplistic form, not to insult you, but to teach you what they are doing to you. If you are offended and think I'm blaspheming about speaking out against the church, then you're a fool, because Jesus didn't come to teach you a religion or a science. He came to teach you a way. And it is no secret anymore that the Vatican do keep secrets. They kept that secret from you. It was a message from Jesus, not a secret. Therefore I say unto you, whatever you desire when you pray, believe that you shall receive them and you shall have them. That's one secret. There are many. I will reveal more of them, but I will reveal the main one from his mother, Mary. They haven't got no right to keep secrets from you. When Jesus and Mary come to give you a message, they should pass it on. By keeping it secret is how they control you, and this includes the American government. The American Brotherhood symbol is the unfinished pyramid with the all-seeing eye on the American dollar. The unfinished pyramid, encompassed with the all-seeing eye, proclaims that the works of humans' individual character or external works are incomplete unless they incorporate divine insight. The symbol is meant to indicate that the nation will flourish only as leaders are guided by superconscious intuition, other realms. The phrase underneath the pyramid, Novus Ordo Secularum, meaning a new order of the ages is born, declares that this event is not only the formation of another nation, but of a new spirituality-based order for the world, or a new world order, and secularism is their new spirituality. These people have built all empires, religious, royal, and now governments, using science, that does receive its knowledge from the one with the forked tongue. This project was launched with confidence because Annuit Coeptus, he God, looks with favour upon our undertaking. This is why the American slogan is, "In God we trust." This is where a sinister mistake has been made by the American and now all European governments that are now in their control, especially Ireland. The American elites have the belief they have angelic DNA and everyone else has the devil's, and it is similar to the belief of that of all royal families. The British one especially, whose ancestors executed Jesus. All royalty descend from Ham or Shem, two sons of Noah. Secularism was founded by George Jacob Holyoake, who was Jewish, and he was editor of the atheist paper Oracle of Reason. An atheist is a non-believer, and this is what secularism is, and in the beginning this is what all scientists were only allowed to be. And soon they will try to make all of you, especially in Ireland. They are rewriting your constitution at this minute. That is why your current Taoiseach promoted a judge to the highest court in the land, because this is the way of the Pharisees, a member of an ancient Jewish sect who rigorously observed the rites and ceremonies prescribed by the written law. These people ignore the universal laws and trick you to follow theirs, using the power of words. Just because something is written into law doesn't make it right in the spirit world. That is why Jesus said a lawyer was further away from the gates of heaven than a rich man. Secular, of or relating to the present world, or to things not spiritual or sacred, not ecclesiastical, monastic, not concerned with religion. They are denying the spirit world, but their secret is they use it, but they seek guidance from the force of darkness. Sadducee, a member of a secret sect among the Jews arising in the 2nd century BC, who adhered to the written law to the exclusion of tradition and denial of the resurrection from the dead, existence of spirits. The 2nd century BC was the same time they released a book of black magic, the Golden Ass, the Egyptian mysteries of Isis. Their oldest scientific journal is called Isis, and this is where the American media got their name for the terrorist organization that they caused. Everything in life has a cause. This is why religion and science are now back together once again. Secularism is modern day Kabbalism, and during the time of Jesus it was Judaism. That is why Jesus said, "And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by men. But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret, and your Father sees you in secret, and will reward you." They used the word secret, but Jesus would have used the word private. In those days it was synagogues, and now there are many other places of worship, but Jesus never mentioned any of them, just our rooms. So anything that any religion teaches is the opposite of what Jesus came to teach. On any journey through life, when you want to follow someone, you must first think like them. You must be taught what they had to teach. And Jesus was a very wise man, and he wouldn't have come into this world to speak of peace, love, harmony, health and happiness without teaching you how to achieve it. He was a visionary, and a vision means supernatural or prophetic apparition, foresight, an appreciation of what the future may hold, wise or an imaginative planning for the future. As I taught, like-minded people are guided by the same mind. The British and American countries are led by secret societies that use science, and you now know the mind that guides them, the creator of the apple tree, the devil. It seems that the Vatican have always been controlled by like-minded people also, and they have always allowed experiments to be carried out on you, even at the altar. These people believe that they are right, and what they do is their God's will, as Jesus warned, and he said they would make you like them. Jesus warned they would traverse land and sea to make one a proselyte, and Kennedy said they would use diplomatic means. All the empires that this one group of people built were built using religion and science, and you now know where their religion and science comes from. And these are two institutions in all societies that have all been built by secret organizations. Institution, a society or association established for charitable, social or educational purposes. The Vatican that controls religion and the Freemasons that control science are charitable organizations. We recently witnessed how the Vatican invested their money. They've invested in alcohol, cigarettes, and weapons manufacturing. This keeps sickness and disease and war alive. All the evidence proves that the Freemasons that control science are denying the people the cause of cancer and the cure for cancer. And the biggest cancer charity in the world is Cancer UK, and they invested in cigarette companies. Not very honest institutions, are they? These intentions make the organisations a lot of money that they use to cause all manner of evil in our world. This evidence alone proves what I am teaching you, and further proof comes from Jesus and his mother Mary. His mother Mary prophecies are known as Fatima prophecies. The British Empire is the beast in the book of Revelations, as Jesus prophesied, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, also warned us. Mary, the mother of Jesus, predicted the ones that caused the First World War will cause the Second, the Third, and take over the Vatican once again. This book teaches that the First World War was caused by British and French lords, the Freemasons. It shows all the details and planning and all the tactics used to scare their people into war. Eavesdroppers, letter openers, deciphers, telephone tappers, spies, an intercept department, forgery department, criminal investigation department, propaganda department, intelligence department, censorship department, Ministry of Information, and press bureau. This book proves that the leader of Britain, a deceiver and the cause of the Iraq War, a war caused using almost identical tactics to the First World War, and the lies from Britain and America and their laws, was also a Freemason. It is no secret that the Vatican invested in British and French royalty, the cause of all original wars, and empire builders, and recently, as I said, weapons of war, and they allowed the experiments to be carried out on Irish orphans by pharmaceutical companies owned by Pharisees. Sorry, they've changed their names to pharmacies that are owned by Freemasons. Religion and science are the same organisation because they both have the same origin, the Kabbalah, from the mind of the devil. These people see your life as a game. That is why Darwin taught that life was a competition, a survival of the fittest, and a game is a project, plan or scheme designed to defeat others, and using their scientific knowledge that they receive from the devil, that is how they continually defeat you, with the help of religion and your own money, your charitable donations, given to help others, that they use to destroy you and get you to destroy others by paying for weapons and wages, as all evidence reveals. Vespers means secret, but when you are guided by the torchbearer of the truth, as I am, all truths will be revealed. But they tricked you, seeing is believing. That is why I had to gather the evidence that I hope is now staring you in the face. Chemicals and word sayings and slogans is how they have always controlled you. Some people's traits never change. That is why you were warned of the apple. It's a solid version of a liquid version, alcohol. Some people's traits never change, and that is how you always catch a cheat, a thief, and a liar. And that is what a witness does. This book tells of the hold that the words of power and magical names have over millions of people to this day. also that arising in the world today are new political groupings which are emerging upon the world stage. These political groupings are creating such words and names which will in the years to come be charged with the magical power over the hearts and minds of men. That statement was continually used by the British Labour Party. All Labour Party, Communist, Socialist and Secularist parties all have the same agenda. They are the one beast. During the build-up of this war, psychology was used on the British and American people, especially Britain, because the Labour Party employed psychologists in every department. This war was caused using the exact same tactics as the First World War, the greatest loss of life in conflict the world has ever seen. And this war was caused all because of a rule of law. A law that has tricked you. Homosexuality is right just because the British establishment, full of Freemasons that are homosexual, think it's okay, so they force their opinions on you using the law. That is why Freemasons teach that truth and lies are just opinions. It must now seem pretty obvious they are being guided by the spirit of the one that opposed the opinions of Jesus. As Kennedy said, without debate no republic can survive. You must never accept something just because of a rule of law. Laws are just words, sayings and slogans, and you now know how they use the power of words against you. That is why they employ psychologists in every department to use the power of words against you, to make you go against the will of your God and follow theirs, and execute 1 million people and think that homosexuality is now okay because it's the 21st century, or they love each other, or it's time for a change. Or they keep tricking you that times have changed. When you accept their rule of law, you accept the massacre of innocent victims, and this allows them to massacre all of you. This is because when you accept anything that happens to someone else, their God will make it happen to all of you. He does, and using his scientists and the power of words like additives, preservatives, and taste enhancers, these people have always massacred all of you. Why do you think the highest intelligent life force throughout this universe warned you not to eat the apple, and his son warned you not to eat their bread? You were warned because they both contained mini versions of their creator, the devil, the serpent. Under microscopic inspection, yeast is a snake, and like its creator, the shape-shifting devil, he has now invaded all your brains, the control tower of all your thoughts. That is why the mind of the world is thinking like the devil, because you were tricked to follow his disciples, like-minded people on earth. They trick you that history repeats itself. How can any event be repeated by a word? How can the word history repeat itself? Every event needs the same organisers or like-minded people. People of Ireland, by his own actions and words, your current Taoiseach has proven he is like-minded with the British establishment. The empire is now amongst you. Your entire government cannot be trusted, any one of them. The evidence shows that they lied to cause both wars and tricked their people to go to war to expand business empires that were built using charitable donations meant for Africa and cancer sufferers. The American government do know the cure for cancer, as I have proven with the clip from the police officer. And they also know, as I said with Dr. Holder Clark's interview, she unearthed that the American Indians also had the cure for cancer. But keeping secrets is their little game. And even lying is their little game. And they don't care how many of you they kill. And if they carry on, they are soon to wipe billions of you off the face of this earth, as my next documentary will prove, the next part of this documentary. After the First World War, Woodrow Wilson changed his tune. Is there any man, let me say, is there any child, who does not know that the seed of war in the modern world is industrial and commercial rivalry? This was an industrial and commercial war. Britain took their people and the rest of the world to war in the First World War because of an obligation of honour. Lord Lansdowne, a compact Lloyd George, an honourable expectation, Sir Crowe. This has always happened throughout history, the elite using us to make money, even if it involves war and the greatest loss of life. Mr. Bonar Law, famous for being Britain's shortest Prime Minister, said that if Germany would have known Britain was to get involved in the war, it would never have happened. This evidence will prove that history doesn't repeat itself. It is repeated by like-minded people, the ones that only care about and worship money. It would also prove they are also guided by the same mind, the one they honour and worship. It also proves they haven't stopped lying, and all the evidence surrounding the Second World War is proving they lied about that one also. All the lies and stories surrounding the Iraq War are identical to the tactics used in the First World War, and after innocent people were slaughtered by the lies and soldiers of the British Empire, they called their soldiers heroes on their return. What for? Expanding the business empires of their government's associates in their secret lodges? Their government then, with the help of the newspapers that sponsor them, tricked their people with word sayings and slogans once again. Get behind the troops campaign, or help the heroes. Jesus continually spoke out against all their organisations, their money, rule of law, their science, the Pharisees that have now become pharmacies, and the scribes, which is now the press and media. The first, second, and the catalyst of the Third World War, the Iraq War, are all caused by Freemasons, and that proves the first part of Mary, the mother of Jesus' prophecies. The second part was the Vatican will be infiltrated by evil, and Jesus also prophesied this in the Nag Hammadi Gospels that had been kept from you. Here is what Jesus predicted himself of the future during a visionary discussion between Peter and himself, described in the Nag Hammadi Gospels kept out of the Bible. Now then, listen to the things of which they are telling you in a mystery and guard them. Do not tell them of the sons of this age, for they shall blaspheme you in these ages, for they are ignorant of you, but they will praise you in knowledge, and they will cleave to the name of a dead man, thinking they will become pure. But they will become greatly defiled, and they will fall into the name of error, and into the hand of an evil cunning man and a manifold dogma, and they will be ruled heretically, and there shall be others of those outside our number, who name themselves bishops and also deacons, as if they've received their authority from God. They bend themselves under the judgment of their leaders. Those people are dry canals. Religion has always been part of their conspiracy, as Jesus warned. Devil worship has always been carried out in the Vatican. Sylvester II, 940 to 1003, the first French Pope, was known to have studied various hermetic arts, the occult or science, in Spain before his papacy. This would make him one of the earliest alchemists in the West, with Abbot Dunstan of Glastonbury. It is said that he made a pact with the devil to assure his rapid promotion to pontificate. Popes are meant to have the ability to be in commune with God, and they obviously haven't been telling you which one.
Gesù è uno spirito. Gesù non è uno spirito. Gesù è una persona, è un uomo.
What this Pope has done is more sacrilegious than any of you know. He has given the scientists who have attempted for centuries to disprove the spirit world and the existence of God, the creator of all the good, including the truth and healing, the ammunition they need. He is meant to be an upholder of the faith, and when he breaks the faith and the belief in the Spirit of Jesus, the uneducated who look up to him will blindly follow him like lambs to the slaughter. People fail to see that the devil has always been known as the spirit of darkness. So what is this Pope saying? When he denounces the spirit of light, as the Sadducees did, is he saying there is only one spirit, the spirit of darkness? That is why you are now descending rapidly back into hell. By denying Jesus was a spirit, he has opened the door to secularism that is soon to be enforced in Ireland. In 1119, Jewish high priest Calixtus II, 1119 to 1124, the first Jewish Sadducee pope in history, was succeeded by his son Honorius, 1124 to 1130, and then his grandson Innocent II, 1130 to 1143. Their entire history has been written out of papal history. The very worst high priests were Pierleoni, Pietros, and dedicated followers of Baal, Moloch, the devil. This group of people were Sarmatian Jews, and any innocent Sarmatian Jew who refused to convert to worshipping demons were murdered by public burning in their hundreds and thousands. This is what the Vatican did to the true followers of Jesus, the Christians, when they used his name to create the Catholic religion and trick people they were following him. Their legacy as popes was the burning of people, the pentagram worship, the symbol of occultism, and the Eucharist. The Eucharist is an insult to Jesus, because the Eucharist is meant to be the sacraments of the Last Supper, the elements bread and wine given in his honour. Jesus warned us of yeast when he said, "Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees." So why would an organisation that allegedly worships him give out yeast in honour of him? It is an insult to his followers who never really knew his true message when the Vatican took over. I've continually showed you who their guide is, and I continually told you who my guide is, and I hope you are beginning to understand. He has got me to read everything. He is my tutor. I have studied everything. And this book on Russian history will show the time that the Sarmatian Jews invaded Europe. If you look at the top right square, it teaches that the Sarmatian Jews entered Europe 200 BC. This was the time the Book of Black Magic, the Golden Ass, the Mysteries of Isis was released. It was also the time that the Pharisees and the Sadducees was created in the Bible, the people that Jesus spoke out against and lost his life. This is further proof of the people that Jesus spoke out against, the people he was warning us of. I have shown you they are rewriting the history of the Vatican already. This book teaches that war was an accepted part of life, but you must never accept anything, even disease, otherwise you will never ever find another way. I will accept only when I can verify. This leaves your mind open and stops you from blindly following anyone, royalty, religious leaders, scientific leaders, and now governments. It leaves your mind open to find another way and not just follow the beliefs of one group of people, whether it's religious, science, royal, or governments. Once you accept what they do to others, they will do it to you. That is why they trick you with words like forgive and forget. There would be no need for words like forgiveness in a righteous world, because there would be nothing to forgive. When you accept the word forgiveness, you accept that people will do wrong. We shouldn't accept this. They should be told to do right, not allowed to do wrong and trick us to forgive them. This will only allow them to keep doing wrong, because they fooled us to forgive them. That is why they also use the rule of law, to trick us, that they can do wrong and make it right. In 1976, Pope Paul VI confided to a shocked audience that the smoke of the devil has entered the very sanctuary of St. Peter's Cathedral. He also stated that he had knowledge of a midnight hour black satanic mass conducted at the altar. It's no coincidence or chance that black satanic mass is written in French, because this was the path of the Templar Knights that have now become known as Freemasons. This page from a book on the occult teaches that the Order of the Temple, which was for a long time regarded as the most important organisation in the Christian West, was founded by Hugues de Payens and 8 other French knights who were companions of Godefroy de Bouillon. Originally, the order was to ensure the defence of Christ's tomb. It must now be obvious to a fool, with all their deception, their lies, their corruption, their dishonesty, and all the wars they caused, and all the sickness and disease they caused, it obviously wasn't the tomb of Christ that they were protecting. It was the tomb of the one who they worship and honour, as I am proving to you, and as Jesus wants you to know. They don't follow Jesus because he said that they were children of hell. Freemasons originate from this order, and they brought science to the Western world, and it was butchered into the people of the West at the hands of the British Empire, that has now become the American Empire, that is now in the control of the European Union, which is controlled by a scientific organisation known as Codex Alimentarius, which means food code. Another time they brought their science to the West, once again, was after the Crusades, when they tricked the West to rescue them from the East after they were imprisoned for poisoning their children. Isaac the Blind, a French Jew, brought another book of black magic, the Book of Zohar, the Book of Splendor, Sefer Leretza. This book teaches the initiated how to control the forces of darkness. It is as I taught you in the beginning, that when you change the elements within, you change the spirit within. That is why whiskey was known as the Dark Spirits. That is why their organization is called Codex Alimentarius, means food code. They know that when they change the elements in your food, they'll change your mind. That's why they keep changing the additives, preservatives and taste enhancers. Since the Second World War, a time that they experimented on all the orphans of the world, they have produced 750,000 new chemicals, because they know that your body adapts to fight their disease-causing elements and mind-destroying chemicals. This wave was recently caused once again when the European Union was formed. They flooded all the foods with all the elements of the apple and new chemicals, MSG and aspartame. The European people weren't used to these chemicals. They've been using these on the Americans since the 70s. French scientists cracked the genome code, the code to your DNA, and using the foods that science now controls, they now control all of you. It is as Aldous Huxley warns in his book, Brave New World. He said that using efficient and scientific engineering, people can be genetically designed to be passive and therefore consistently useful to the ruling classes, the elite class. Psychological engineering is known as engineering of consent, and using psychologists and the rule of law, the devil worshippers of Britain, France and America trick their people to go to war and execute 1 million innocent victims. That is what the book on the Kabbalah was teaching. This is what Jesus was warning me to tell you. This is all because they fail to understand who or what is controlling their minds. These masses involve life sacrifices, and when you understand that the world is reverted back to the way of the Hebrew, and you understand that they used to sacrifice children or babies in the Old Testament, this is probably what the Pope witnessed. That is why the world is now back in the time of the Old Testament of war, hatred and revenge, sickness and disease. These black satanic masses have been inherited from the masses celebrated in honor of the devil during the witches' Sabbath of the Middle Ages, which themselves are derived from the ancient Gnostic masses. This is why the Vatican ordered all their cousins, all your royalty, to massacre all the true followers of Jesus, the Gnostics that followed his knowledge. Many of my ancestors that communicated with his spirit, the guide of all truth seekers and healers. During these masses they executed the child or adult and then ate the flesh and drank the blood. This is what the sacraments reenacts, and it is the way that Jesus lost his life. It is what they did to Jesus, and the body they were guarding didn't belong to my guide. They ate him, a ceremony they get you to reenact every time you go up to receive at Mass the body and blood of the devil, because their bread contained yeast, a mini version of the devil. This book teaches of new political groupings that are now appearing in our world, and it also teaches that in Poland in the late 18th century a curious Kabbalistic sect known as Chisholm was formed, and some of its members were known as the wonder-working rabbis, and these wonder-workers made great use of sacred names. The leader Chisholm was Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, the master of the divine name. You now know that Baal is one of many names of the devil, and Shem is the founder of the Hebrew race, the ones that brought the Kabbalah to our world. In certain groups of the Chisholm, the language of paradise was heard, and by its use the rabbis worked wonders and showed evidence of this, just as the Pharisees did in biblical times. Paradise to their God is hell. That is his domain. That is why the world is now beginning to appear like his domain, because he has taken control of your minds with the help of his disciples that have infested and defiled your mind with their chemicals. Using mind-altering drugs in the foods, they have altered your perception on reality and then forced their way into society by their rule of law. Satanic worship has apparently mushroomed in recent years, and Catholic cardinals, bishops and priests have joined Masonic lodges. All royalty, Western and Eastern, are also members. New York's Terence Cook, one of America's most powerful Catholic cardinals, addressed a gathering of 3,000 Masons, refraining from mentioning the name Jesus, the name they despise and prohibited inside their lodges. Cardinal Cook bowed to Masonry's worst heresy by remarking, "I know your firm belief in the Supreme Being, the great architect of the universe, and of the holy writings appropriate to the religions of your members, and I salute you for your loyalty to these ancient values. That should further prove the prophecies of Mary, the mother of Jesus. It should be a little clearer that Jesus was right about this group of people. It should also prove that what Kennedy warned of is now happening right in front of all your eyes, and failure to act will only allow them to bring you deeper into hell. All their empires they built using religion and science were loose in morals. They were full of homosexuality, paedophilia, bestiality, which is sleeping with animals, incest, which is sleeping with your family, necrophilia, sleeping with the dead, debauchery and orgies, and sexual depravity, sex crimes and grotesque acts of violence, murder, sickness and disease, leprosy, plagues, cancers, viruses caused by bacteria and mosquito, lupus, cannibalism, the right to create and end life, corruption, deceit and dishonesty, and no respect for life, and live it while you can. That is what secularism is, and the diversity laws and the Freedom of Choice Act will trick you to think is acceptable. This will trick you that you have the right to be free, but this will only allow more wrong and evil to be bestowed upon you. The world has been tricked to honour and worship the devil many times throughout millennia by one group of people that now keep tricking you Jesus was one of them. Kabbalism, Judaism, and soon to be secularism, Novus Ordo Secularum, meaning a new order of the ages is born. But they fail to see the paradise that the devil teaches of is just one of many of his illusions. Freemasons refer to their God as the great architect of the universe, and an architect uses what's already there to create, and he has used all your minds because of his disciples on earth to create his world in this world, and his paradise is hell. That is why this world is rapidly descending into hell. Hope you are now understanding that the way to change the world is to change the mind of the world, and using his disciples on earth, the devil is changing all your minds. This book teaches that in the early 1900s, London had 80% juvenile delinquency. They carried out extensive surveys and found that the major factor was malnutrition. Malnutrition means lacking in good elements that get wasted because the person is tricked to eat sugary foods. All the foods the British and Americans were tricked to eat were sugary. The elements that protect the body and help repair it and keep it calm are magnesium, potassium, calcium and sodium that used to be found in vegetables before Monsanto experimented on them and as Darwin did before them. The foods that the British and American societies were mainly fed contained white sugar from the apple and white flour from the leavened bread that the Bible warned us not to eat, foods of the devil, created by his disciples, the scientists, that are controlled by Freemasons, that control the British and American societies. Now they eat mainly fast and processed foods, and their societies are getting more aggressive. Delinquency is overt aggressiveness, rebellion against parental authority and against society, stealing and gang activities. Modern day belief is to teach parents to discuss the problems with people who are accustomed to dealing with adolescents, a doctor, youth officer or social worker. When these people have been programmed in universities by empire builders, they will only think like their masters. That is because to follow anyone in life you must first think like them. Nostradamus did warn there would come a time when your children would be beyond your control, and sadly this is beginning to happen in Ireland also, but not as bad as London now is. To me, as a boy, London was hell, and it's now getting much worse. It's getting like the early 1900s again. There is now 6 murders caused by stabbings every day, on top of all the acid attacks. The world has faced similar circumstances to what it's facing now. But when these people are told what the problem is, they deny it because they're truth deniers, because they're being guided by the devil. It's his mind, it's his will that controls science. That is why they deny herbalists, nutritionists, that will teach them it's to do with the foods, nutrition. They deny it and play a little game, create social workers, doctors and nurses, psychiatrists, psychologists. And the main problem is within. Look at sugar. They denied that and still left it in the foods, and it's still causing sickness and disease. They don't care. It makes a lot of money for their business associates in the pharmaceutical industries.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy.
Covet means to desire something unlawful, and when your leaders desire something unlawful, they change the rule of law to get you to comply and accept what they desire. That is how they tricked you to accept gay marriage. And the diversity laws and the Freedom of Choice Act will allow paedophilia to be legalized and accepted by society. That is how it was in Roman times. That is why Nostradamus referred to the European Union, a union controlled by science, that you now know experiments on your minds, the Holy Roman Empire. And the fact that the Vatican allowed their experiments is also proof of what Nostradamus was predicting. These people believe that what they do is right because all the evidence I am showing you proves that they do honor and worship the devil. To not believe what I am teaching you will be rejecting Jesus, but you have already been tricked to do that by being taught that it's seeing is believing and that there are no cures. Jesus foretold the events that we now face, but we were tricked to follow one group of people that tricked us. Jesus was one of them. Please do not insult his great name. And this time, listen to him. He is channeling his message through me. You must stop this Irish government before it's too late. They are to implement a diversity law which will allow all the misfits and paedophiles to seek sanctuary in Ireland. Paedophilia was legalized throughout all their empires. Even their recent ones, religion, royal, and now governments, have all had paedophilia scandals. Your current Irish government cannot be trusted. Jesus is screaming at me to alert you. There are many horrific things to unfold in Ireland if you continue with this government. These people have infiltrated Ireland via your government, and subversion means to overthrow, to destroy, to overturn, to corrupt, to pervert. Talk of a new leader is subversion, and now they are in control of the Irish government and the judicial system. They are soon to allow more experiments to be carried out on the Irish people. They are to overturn your entire constitution, and as I taught you earlier, that is why your current Taoiseach, who is not one of you, promoted a High Court judge, originally employed by the Labour Party. They are already corrupting the minds of your young with chemicals and education by teaching them that homosexuality is right, as Kennedy warns. They may think this, but as I said to you, God the creator of all the good in our universe doesn't. Pervert means obstinately or willfully wrong, and changing your religion to secularism will leave you without knowledge of the spirit world or Jesus. I have shown you how they have experimented on you throughout history, all the way back to biblical times and long before. I have also shown you that one group of people have the same traits as their ancestors, and their demonic worship and experiments haven't stopped. This is further proof that religion and science have always been connected and is to be reunited once again because of the theosophy, the ideology of America, which now controls European science and religion. Food is how they have always controlled us, because chemicals are the oldest form of mind control, but we failed to heed the warnings because they also controlled religion that kept the truth from us. This has allowed science to continue making foods, but even more sinister, tamper with nature, and this will soon leave our health in serious crisis, as it has always been throughout all their empires. This is now beginning to show, because all the physical and psychological or mind and body diseases and disorders are now showing their evil face once again. We can stop this, but we must unite and act fast and rise up against science. It is the way of the devil, and it is the beast in the book of Revelations, the British Empire. People of Ireland, the last 1,000 years of history with Britain have been pure hell, because we have continually made a mistake of forgiving them for all the evil they unleashed upon us. My research uncovered they deliberately caused all wars, as I have proven, and as Mary, the mother of Jesus, prophesied. They have poisoned the food chain many times, and I have also discovered they deliberately caused the famine, which wiped out half the population of Ireland. Every time experiments were carried out on the Irish, the Labour Party were in power or had just left government. One of many of their experiments was carried out on the London Underground by secret agents of the British establishment, and they smashed light bulbs full of viruses. When asked what viruses, they said the flu, and a quick-thinking reporter said that someone is making a lot of money out of these experiments. This is what Jesus discovered all those years ago. And I know, because he has guided me to teach me that they haven't changed and are still experimenting on our people. It has recently come to my attention that a specific mosquito can only survive in the London Underground network. Culex pipiens molestus. How did it get there? And how did it become accustomed to the atmosphere? Could it have been via the light bulbs from the laboratory where it had been conditioned or cultured to become accustomed to the environment? Was it infected to carry the flu virus just like the meats? MRSA is a flu virus carried by chickens, and when the Labour Party were recently in power in Britain, MRSA spread throughout all their hospitals. They will trick you with another word, coincidence, and only an uneducated fool will now believe them, because as I have shown you, they once tricked you that history repeats itself, but the wise amongst you will now see that history is repeated by the same group of people. The article at the top is of a serious meat scandal that should have shook Europe, but the fact that these people keep secrets and hide messages, as is the case within the Bible, and call them secrets, is a childish little game they've got. It's a sick, demonic game they have with us, the rest of the world. This article teaches that 20 French scientists were arrested in December 2014 for injecting meat at a laboratory run by a pharmaceutical company. The meat was then sold illegally abroad, and French Consumer Affairs Minister at the time, Benoit Hamon, said there was a major risk to public health. Some of this meat got to Britain, and the main controller of the meat and dairy industry in Britain is a supermarket that sponsors the Labour Party. This was the supermarket that the Irish discovered was selling poisoned meats. Are they connected? Well, when you understand that the British and French do have a history, their entente cordiale, and that they colluded to cause the First World War, then you can see that it's not a case of history repeating itself. It is a case of the same group of people repeating history, and the French have done it before. A poisoning affair which disturbed France between 1679 and 1682. More than 400 people were implicated. These 400 people were secret society members, members of nobility, the so-called elite. This will prove that CJD and other diseases like Ebola could have come from similar experiment. When you understand the pathology of all disease, the cause of all disease is either chemicals, metals, or bacteria, you begin to see that the apple was their first biological weapon. And then the bread, people got wise. And then cakes, biscuits and sweets, and they trick you with words like treat. And now they inject the meat. That is why MRSA is a flu in chickens. We are witnessing sickness and disease rife throughout Europe. And Jesus warned of the 4 headless horsemen of the apocalypse. It is no coincidence that there is only 4 food companies in our world and 4 pharmaceutical companies. And they are British, French, German and American owned. And they're in the control of America that now controls European science. The company that was caught injecting the meat now controls Ireland's vaccinations. As I said, a cheat will always cheat and a liar will always lie and a scientist will always experiment. The devil is a scientist, and using his disciples, his experiments continue because of all your governments and their rules of law. Be warned, people of Ireland, your government have bad intentions. When they are caught experimenting on you, your good for nothing, low-life, immoral, money-worshipping governments allow it to continue. That is why they left sugar in all your foods. And when a Taoiseach only has the intentions of promoting a judge, that is a clear sign of what he intends to do. The front cover of this book is warning enough. That is who they honour and worship. He is the guide of all science, the creator of the apple tree. And the French scientists were the ones that cracked the code to our DNA. And history shows that it was Isaac the Blind, a French Jew, that brought their science to the Western world after the Crusades, a time when religion tricked people to go and rescue them from the East. This brings me back to the apple, and one of many diseases it has led to is cancer, and cancer is rife throughout Europe because all the elements of the apple are now flooded into all foods and many more man-made ones.
Where does the patulin mold come from?
Patulin is found in other fruits and plant materials too, but apples is where we get most of it. You can hardly peel an apple without seeing some mold under the peeling, and that will have patulin in it.
Is that what we see in the brown spot?
Yes, that's what the brown spot is. It isn't really a brown spot, it's a moldy spot.
How do you suggest we prepare our fruit, and how should we eat it?
Mostly don't eat it. Peel those fruits. Peel the potatoes, peel the apples, peel the pears, peel the peaches, peel everything, and then you'll be astounded at what you have been eating.
Telling me that in all of our pharmacology, all the millions of dollars spent with research in cancer, the native Indians who were using this hundreds of years ago already had the solution to cancer.
Those who were, yes.
We are helping people to heal by cancer. Yes, we have several people utilizing the principle by Dr. Clark.
The apple and all fruits contain microscopic yeast, and once again this is why we were warned not to eat the apple and the bread. And Dr. Holder Clark also said not to eat any fruits, But you have been tricked to ignore the warnings from God, the creator of all the good, and his creator's son. So many of you are hardly going to believe people like myself and Dr. Holder Clark. And many of you now believe you know all you need to know because of the science of the British Empire, and that is soon to prove fatal, as it always has done throughout the last 1,000 years or more. I taught you that you must always be an able student, and this means you must keep your mind open by saying, I know nothing, but I want to know. Then say, I will accept only when I can verify. Yeast is the cause of all brain disease and is the first carrier of all disease around our body, especially into the brain. And when the Zika virus carrying mosquito injects her eggs into you, yeast will carry it into the brain. The mosquito is attracted by the gas you give off, carbon dioxide, that is created with all the elements from the apple. That is why your foods are flooded with these elements, and now your atmosphere. Every organism needs the right environment to survive, and yeast, bacteria and all other microbes are organisms, and sugar feeds most of them.
What's your concern with the relationship with the pet and the sick patient?
Pet dander and pet saliva and pet filth gets into everything in the room. I have tested dust from the room of a home where there was a pet, let's say just a cat, much as I love cats, or a dog, and there are ascaris eggs everywhere, and tapeworm eggs everywhere, on the tabletop, on the kitchen counter, on the chairs, anywhere you want to take a dust sample. And why wouldn't there be? Our dander is everywhere, and our germs are everywhere. Why wouldn't theirs be?
And what do these two parasites do to the body?
They are very injurious. Ascaris does some of the most damaging things to us, causes our seizures, causes our very many brain disorders.
About 3 or 4 years ago, I guess it was 4 years ago, Lisa started having seizures. The seizures were, they covered pretty much a wide range of different types of seizures. They covered different areas of her body, which to the doctors basically indicated a non-epileptic seizure. She went through EEG, several different doctors. Anyways, I was referred to Dr. Clark. This is when I actually initially heard of her. And treatment she used for seizures, which was black walnut. We tried her on the black walnut after not wanting her to go on other drugs for negative side effects, and the black walnut worked. So.
Another brain disorder discovered by Holder Clark, as you have just seen, was caused by ascaris, and all pets carry ascaris. And the psychologist recently advised people on their own and suffering depression that they should get themselves a pet to keep them company. They know the first cause of depression was sugar, and sugar was first discovered on the apple. That is why they flooded your foods recently with the elements of the apple and advised you to eat more fruits. This proves Aldous Huxley's warning that through the most efficient scientific and psychological engineering, people are genetically designed to be passive and therefore consistently useful to the ruling classes. Sickness and disease is one of the easiest way to control people. Poverty is another. Keeping them uneducated is also another, which is what they've done to you all throughout history, and as I have shown to you, they keep the truth from you. That keeps you uneducated. And fear is their biggest controlling factor. Fear is our biggest killer. It also proves the warnings in the book on the Kabbalah of new political groupings, and they are all Labour, Communist, Socialist, Secularist and austerity parties. As I said, we wouldn't have needed these warnings if we followed the true message of Jesus, as we all once did, long before their religion and their science. The Labour Party allowed their sponsors to get away with selling diseased meats when their foods are pure and clean, and all the wrong scientific advice came out while they were in government or just after, and all history shows that all the experiments that were carried out on the peoples of Britain and Ireland were mainly carried out while the Labour Party were in power. All the British and American establishment, the entire establishment, have both carried out experiments on their people.
She died last July of neurological necrosis. Her brain fell apart from the radiation. The autopsy showed that she was completely cancer-free. Out of 52 cases of that disease ever, no one died cancer-free, just Chrissy. So she didn't die of a terminal illness. She died of my inability to care for her properly, and she died from bad advice. She died because there's a government institution that disseminates false information and is not looking out for the welfare of the people. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I swore an oath 11 years ago, and I think most of us in this room swore it at one time or another, to uphold the Constitution. It says life right in the beginning.
There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
That police officer used the word false, which means not true, contrary to the truth, not conformable to fact, deceptive, misleading, erroneous, wrong, incorrect. That is why my ancients always had a saying, when you haven't got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. To mislead people, we witness countless times the many lives that are lost because of misleading information. Just like that poor, unfortunate police officer's daughter. She could have been saved with the truth. That is why we are always taught that only in truth shall you be saved. Now they are going to change the word to fake news, to pretend, to simulate, to cover up defects and faults as if to give a more valuable appearance to doctor, to contrive, to fabricate. That is what these people did with the Bible. That is why it took 450 years to produce. And in it is nothing but lies, but hidden amongst it are many messages that they kept from you, from Jesus. They insulted his great name by keeping you from his truth. And soon it's to get far worse, because the owners of the Sun newspaper now hold the copyright of the New Edition Bible. They have ridiculed our God, the creator of all the good in our universe, by executing his Son, and then tricking us they were carrying his truth, when they've carried nothing but lies, deceit, dishonesty, corruption, immorality, money worship. And look at how good they have taught all your governments, especially this rancid, disgusting Irish one. The intentions of this Irish government are not for the good of the Irish people. By leaving sugar in the foods, the events that unfolded in London in the early 1900s, where 80% of the juveniles were delinquent, will soon develop in Ireland. It's getting far worse in London, and the kids are getting restless and agitated in Ireland. That is because their foods are lacking in nourishment. It's unconstitutional when a government uses its power for the benefits of its business associates instead of the health of its nation. People of Ireland, your entire Irish government is infested with the people that Kennedy warned you of. Now, who are you going to believe? Me, them, or Jesus? When you want to follow the path of your ancestors, you must be led by a descendant of one of them, because they will only know how to get you there, because as Jesus taught the world, all journeys start within your own mind, the place of your own salvation. Protecting banks from defrauding our country, supermarkets from poisoning us with sugar, and allowing for our beliefs and values to be completely changed by the rule of law shows a total lack of respect for the traditions we uphold. Why did this current Taoiseach, who is not one of us, promote a High Court judge? What are his intentions? Jesus also once warned us of their intentions. When they program you to think a certain way, they can alter your belief. How do you expect to find a cure when you don't believe they exist? How do you expect to find the truth when you are taught to reject the guide that will get you there? That is what secularism is. It is the gateway to hell. You have been blinded by your own belief. That is why Jesus said, "But woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, because you shut the kingdom of heaven against men. For you neither enter yourselves, nor allow those who would enter to go in. But woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you traverse sea and land to make a single proselyte, and when he becomes a proselyte, you make him twice as much a child of hell as yourselves." The kingdom of heaven is a world of truth, the world that Jesus came from, and they keep you from this with their lies. Sickness and disease, including terminal illness, is hell, and believing there are no cures keeps you there. What right have these people got in keeping you there with their knowledge and their laws? And they are soon to stop people from helping you, the true healers of our world, the herbalists. They're soon to implement a law to stop this practice. And they say that you have to go through a trained physician to receive these remedies. Somebody who's been through their university and been taught their lies.
Without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy.
Those of you that still think that what I have taught is controversial, it is because you cannot see that you have been taught by the ones that executed Jesus, the truth deniers, and they have tricked you to live a lie. They have totally altered your belief by reversing your psychology, by changing your thoughts, your biochemical knowledge with chemicals in your foods, your drinks and atmosphere. They have altered your thoughts with their education, religion, science and history, and technologically with harp, and visually with their television programs and films. That is why their education and their films have continually programmed you to have sympathy for these people. The evidence is now proving they have withheld information from Jesus and his mother Mary. They caused the First World War, the Iraq War, the catalyst of the Third World War, and are looking to escalate it further. Therefore, I wouldn't believe anything they teach about the Second World War. I know because the truth is my guide. That is why George Orwell said, "He who controls the past controls the future, and he who controls the present controls the past." Teaching you lies about the past leads them to create more hell with the future. Romans chapter 10, verse 21. But of Israel, he says, all day long I have held out my hands to a disobedient and contrary people. Contrary, opposed, unfavorable, adverse, contradictory, wayward, perverse. Perverse, obstinately or willfully wrong. That is why Jesus said, your will is of your father's desires, the devil. If they are meant to be of God, then why is it Israel that leads the way into wars by allegedly finding excuses to go to war from their spine? These people cause our sickness with their foods and then trick us we need their knowledge. Now I hope you are beginning to see where their knowledge comes from. My knowledge comes from the healer, and herbalism is where we will find the truth. That is why Jesus was always found in the garden. That is why their additives, preservatives and taste enhancers all come from the apple that came from the mind of the devil, as the story teaches. The warning not to eat it came from the mind of our God, the creator of all the good in our universe, the holder of the truth. Romans chapter 14, verse 15. If your brother is being injured by what you eat, you are no longer walking in love. Do not let what you eat cause the ruin of one for whom Christ died. Why do they provide foods for us in their supermarkets full of bacteria, toxins like sugar and now MSG and aspartame that keep destroying us, and their foods are pure? It is because Jesus died to warn us of these people.
What about the fluke that you talked about, the fasciolopsis fluke? How did we get that into our body?
It's in the meat and the dairy industry, except in kosher foods. We were just discovering that kosher food, and this will go into the book still, that kosher dairy products do not have these parasites, which shows you it's a matter of cleanliness.
They are the ones that think the truth is controversial, and they have used all the tactics that Kennedy warned us of to spread their hatred, their wars, their revenge, sickness and disease, and the will of their God, the Father of lies, in an attempt to once again take over the world, as Jesus warned. And all these prophecies in the book of Revelations are now unfolding in the world around you. But many of you fail to see it because you don't know the truth. And some of you don't want to know the truth. It may be because you're scared. But there is nothing to be scared of anymore. It's not your fault. You are not to blame. My God knows that you are the ones that have been wronged. And the only way that we can rightify a wrong is to first accept that we have been wronged. And that way we can change. We must all seek the truth. And then the truth will come to us. We must stop believing in Britain and America. They are the real terrorists of our world.
For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it.
When you build a society that worships money, all our ancient values die. That is why Jesus detested their money, because he knew what they would use it for. Our ancient values were to look after the self and others and the earth around us, as Jesus taught. We knew the properties of the earth and the healing powers it held. Then all hell ascended upon my people, the people of Ireland and the Western world, and we were forced off our land and forced to stop our healing practices. When you follow healers like Hippocrates and Jesus, you become healers, but you must first think like them, and once upon a time we did. And then they took that knowledge from us and forced us to learn their way, their science, the seance with the devil. Science is not the way of life. It is a destroyer of life and only makes money. It destroys the ecology just to build an economy. The British and American governments always trick their people that the economy was more important. That is why they have now created the global economy. Any society built on economy is detrimental to the environment and teaches their children nothing about life and how to protect and preserve it. That is another way they control you. Anyone that heals and wants to heal is a very special individual and a valuable person in any society, and is worth more than any gold that has now become money. People of Ireland, another law this Taoiseach is to implement is to stop herbalists from practicing in Ireland. This means your future generations will never find a cure, and this knowledge of our ancients will soon be lost forever if he is not stopped. This will deny us our right to follow the path of our ancients, our God-given right to healing by nature. That is why they executed his son, to stop him from teaching us. All our ancients were self-taught. We were the leaders in health, and we practiced herbalism as Hippocrates taught. And we looked after the earth as Jesus taught, like guardians of the earth. That is why ancient Christianity taught that the way of happiness and the way to salvation were to be sought, not in the external environment, but in the individual state of mind with regard to the environment. Deep within you are all like me. That is why many of you have no value for money, because your internal instinct, your intuition was initially to protect and preserve life. But all their education has tricked you to destroy yourself, others, and the world around you, all because of the rule of law. We must act fast to reverse what they have done before this error becomes a fatal mistake. Seek and you will find. Knock and every door will be open. Your journey starts within your own mind. You all now have a part to play. All you have to do is think of the truth as many times as you can throughout the day, and all your thoughts will unite as one and increase the power of your thoughts. Trust me, then your prayers will be answered. Remember what Jesus taught, and when you pray, go to your room and pray in private. And your salvation is in the individual state of mind. Trust me, He is here teaching me to teach you the power of the hidden message that they call a secret. Think of the truth as much as you can. Plaster the word all over your house so it is never out of your mind. Make it the first word you see in the morning. Trust me, it will work. You will help me help Jesus save us. I know it works. It is how I have gathered all my information. He hasn't let us down. They silenced him by keeping him out of your mind, by teaching you nothing but lies. What right have they to deny us our God-given right to the truth? That is why Jesus is here and has always been here. He is the torchbearer of the truth, and to follow him you must seek it. You seek the truth by first believing in the truth. That is why Jesus said, you shut the kingdom of heaven against men, and they shut the kingdom of heaven against men with their lies. So just believe in the truth, and the truth will open all doors and reveal all truths. That is why it's believing is seeing. In order to be like Jesus, you must think like him. Just keep saying, I want to know the truth, and he will come to you as he did for me. Jesus is the truth. Anyone that genuinely seeks the truth will speak the truth and not use the rule of law to trick their people to accept wrong.